Springtime is the time for healing. Something's come over me. Something's coming over me. And I see the world through different eyes.
The bell rings. The bride runs backwards. The distance between right and wrong is blurred. Hello to all and welcome to the Ear-Wicker podcast. Follow along with our host, Vince Corkery, as he discusses a broad range of musical topics, with interviews of top players, club owners, producers, and engineers that make it all happen. Your virtual backstage pass. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast, and of course, it's free.
Hello to all, and welcome to the Ear-Wicker podcast. And today we have a very special guest. He's a pretty well-known musician, I'd say, in St. Louis. Lliam Christy. How you doing?
Good. Thank you, Vince. Thanks for inviting me to this podcast.
Oh, well, thank you very much for taking time. Come over. Appreciate that. I know you're a busy dude. So,
I want to preface all of this with I have concern. I want you to know about this too. Drew from the Strand Lads, Andrew John, goes by Drew Bollinger.
Okay.
Found out this morning he's in critical condition at Barnes.
Oh, no. I was just going to ask you about,
Yeah. So I spoke with his wife.
Oh, man.
Because we were scheduled to do a gig on Sunday, Michael Scherer, Drew, and myself, down in Sparta, which Michael and I did do. Oh. It's at a old friend's birthday party. She has had us for the last 3 years.
Oh, wow.
When we come and we play all of our original songs out on her deck.
Nice.
And a bunch of neighbors come. It's a cool hang.
Yeah.
But Drew told Julia, the lady down there, that he couldn't come because he broke his ribs.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, man, I'm sad.
Yeah.
So I called him yesterday, see how he's doing, and no answer. Call him again this morning on his cell, no answer. But then his wife called me back, Nicole, and she said, yeah, when he fell and hit his ribs, he had internal bleeding.
Oh,
didn't know it, and ended up having to go call the ambulance, and they had to cut his chest open, and he's in ICU. It looked bad for a minute.
Mm.
I think he's stable.
Well, that's good.
I'm going to go there after I'm done with this and visit him.
Oh, wow.
But he's kind of top of mind right now for me.
Sure, yeah.
He's a
I'm sorry
dear
to
friend.
hear that, yeah. Yeah, wow.
And a lot of history with that guy.
Yeah.
I owe him a lot for a lot of my musical lineage, and so anyway,
Man, I'm sorry.
My heart goes out to you and healing, Andrew John.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Let me ask you, did you grow up in St. Louis?
Yes, born and bred.
Born and bred, okay. And what got you into music? What do you think the spark was?
We had a piano in the house growing up, and my mother played piano a little bit, and she had a passion for classical music. She had a nice collection of records, and I heard that in my youth, and I kind of I'd play around the piano, kind of like to improvise. I'll call it free. Now I would call it free classical.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a new genre, free classical.
Oh, okay. And so what were some of the bands you got in? How young were you when you started playing in some groups?
The first group, I used to play, I had a friend, Charlie Terse. He was a mentor to me, my first musical mentor, you could say. Great musician, guitarist.
Okay.
We met my last day of freshman year high school. He was a year ahead of me. He invited a bunch of us to come over to his house. And we all went over and we hung out in his basement. And Charlie played on the electric guitar, Stairway to Heaven, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
So we were all so impressed. And I had been interested in guitar and started, I don't know if I had an electric guitar at that time. I think that was right around the time I was like, I don't remember the precise time. I had an old acoustic that I had gotten before that, and I learned chords, and I was definitely interested in guitar. But so we hung out a lot, and we played Beatles songs. He was kind of a tastemaker for me, so he kind of turned me on to things that were very hip that I had, liked but didn't know as much about. And because I had been listening to like Steppenwolf, Deep Purple,
Right, yeah,
which are awesome bands.
Yes, yeah.
And he was like, "No, man, you got to get into the Beatles more." And of course, I knew about the Beatles, but and I'm like, "Well, great, lead me to the Holy Land,"
Yeah.
So he was my first mentor,
Okay.
and that's around that time I got into playing electric guitar, and I was really interested in that, the magic of all of that.
Yeah, right on. And were you playing in bands in high school? Or?
Yeah, with him, this is a great band name, great in quotation marks. We combined, it was Charlie and myself, a guy named Jim McCutcheon, and Joe Sauer, dear friend, still in St. Louis, drummer. We combined our names, and the name came out McChrister Sauer. That was my first band.
Okay.
And we played a friend's birthday party in a backyard in South St. Louis. I was the rhythm guitarist, and we did songs like, we did Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Hendrix, classic rock, and it was awesome. That was my first real gig.
I guess that kind of set a spark for the path, maybe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, did you go to college, music college?
Yeah, I studied
or?
at Webster University.
Oh, okay.
And I got a master's from there.
Oh, that's. Oh. I know that this is going back one of your first bands. Is Stranded Lads? Yeah, and how did that start, and who was all in that? And
yeah, I'll tell you this because to me it was very important part of my career as a guitarist, and my main interest was original music. I was interested in that more so than just playing, in a cover band.
right.
So let me back up a little before that.
Yeah.
So I played in some kind of various cover bands because I just wanted to play. I didn't care. I was looking in the Trading Times back then, and you look at ads in the back, and I would go and I would answer ads, and I was just, let me find some musicians I can play music with, whatever it may be. And but cutting to the chase a little further, I'm going to say this is in 1981. Well, my first real bar gig was on the Landing, and it was with Monica Reed, Lenny Kravitz, who just passed, Daryl Mixon on bass.
Sure, yeah. Still playing. Yeah.
The drummer, I'm trying to remember his name, and I cannot remember it. And I asked Monica, and I asked Daryl, they don't remember. If you said it, I would know it. But So that bar gig was at a place called Carmichael's, which then became Sundeckers.
Okay.
And I think that was 1980. And I was very excited because it was a real gig in a bar.
Yeah.
And the Cleats Landing, I felt like I had,
On your way.
Yeah, it was very important that I did that, So then a couple of years past, 1983, I was heard about this guy named Marlon Hoffman, who had a band. He had a band called The Clones. They were a punk band in St. Louis. I heard that maybe he was looking for a guitarist. I heard this through his hairdresser that knew my girlfriend. And so we went to Billy Goat Hill, and I saw him play. And the band they were great. They were a punk band. And I met him and talked to him. And I'm like, hey, man, Gina said you were looking, maybe for another guitarist or starting a new thing. I don't remember what it was specifically because that band obviously had some level of success. But so then we exchanged numbers, and he's like, yeah, let's get together. And that turned into a band. Our partnership became a band called Marlon Monroe, kind of a play on Marlon Brando and Marilyn Monroe. So we wrote a bunch of songs together in 1983. Things happened very quickly back then. It seems like they happened faster in the past than they do now. So we started getting together, and we wrote dozens and dozens of songs together, and we formed a band, guitar, bass, drums, and he was the front guy. He only sang. He did not play guitar. And we were offered a record contract from a label in St. Louis called Cool Elegance. They were in Midtown. And for whatever reasons, we decided not to do the contract, but we then moved to Florida on the idea that he had some connections in the industry. And him and I moved to Florida. We played to really big crowds in St. Louis. We played at Heartbreak Hotel, which was BB's.
Right.
For a period of time,
Yes.
they were Heartbreak Hotel.
Yes.
So we packed the place, and I was told it was the biggest crowd they ever had. Whether that's true or not, they sold out of beer, and we were an interesting band, and we had good songs. And Marlon is an amazing performer, still performing and making music. He lives in California, and we're lifelong friends. And I talk to him periodically. But so that was my first original band. It didn't pan out in Florida. I ended up coming back to St. Louis because I didn't have a passport for England. That was my goal. And then I ended up coming back here and got a gig playing in some cover band. Then I got the opportunity to do an audition for the house band at Mississippi Nights, Big Fun, which I got the gig. Ken Kruger hired me. Thank you, Ken. It was very important. That was a very good band. We did some very cool music, a couple covers, and kind of trying to make our way. And that band played and toured regionally.
Yeah, lots.
And house band. So that brings me to the Stranded Lads. So I was in that band for, I'll say, a year and 10 months. I don't know. This is a broad idea, a little less than 2 years. That started in 1985, I believe. And so now we're into 1986. The Stranded Lads, which was a three-piece. It was Drew Bollinger, Rich Rohrbach on drums, and Bill Solomon on bass. And they opened up for Big Fun. And I'm sitting there in the audience, and I'm watching them play, and they blew me away in terms of the sound, the songs, and Drew's voice. They were magic to me. It's the most amazing thing that I've seen in St. Louis. And after the show, I'm like, Drew, you are incredible. And I'm like, if you want somebody playing guitar with you, adding a member, I would love to try and play with you. And we exchanged numbers, and he called me very soon afterwards, and he said, let's get together. And we did, and I joined the band. I joined the three-piece Stranded Lads, and now we were a four-piece. And that, I was just ecstatic because I loved the band. I loved the band as they were, and I wanted to join in and be part of this somehow. And Drew wanted more guitar, wanted more electric guitar. So he didn't have to do all the duties, play parts, play leads, and things like that.
Sure, yeah.
So then we recorded the first record. It's known as the Blue Tape. It was released on cassette in, I believe, 1986. And to much acclaim at the time.
Yeah.
17 songs. We cut it live in my parents' basement, played live to a cassette deck. That's what we have now.
Wow.
So that's, I was in that band. I still consider myself part of the band, even though it's not really a functioning band anymore.
Are the recordings still available?
Yeah, I think there's strandedlad.com, and that's Drew's website. We played together. We went through various members. Rich left, and we had different drummers, including Tony Saputo.
I was going to ask you about Tony because don't want to forget about Tony.
Yeah, and Steve Hanna.
Yes, right.
Bill Solomon left at some point, maybe early on. So then it was, I think Steve Hanna joined then, and then maybe Tony Saputo. So then we had a different rhythm section, and it changed. We changed a couple other times, partly due because Tony Saputo died in a plane crash because he was playing with Reba McEntire.
Yes, and a keyboard player from St. Louis also.
Kurt Capello died, and so did Terry Jackson, the bass player that he had played with Drew and I on some stuff in the studio. And I knew those guys from Webster. That's how I knew Tony. So we were together until maybe 93, early 94. I can't remember the precise times. And then maybe 7 years we were together. I was.
Oh, okay.
Then Drew did solo stuff. Quite a few really good things he did solo. And then maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, he did some stuff as a trio again with Rich on drums, Rich Rohrbach on drums. That he's been kind of writing all this time. He's put out many records, solo stuff, incredibly prolific. So anyway, that's kind of the story of the Stranded Lads.
And there was another band called Rainbox.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a little after that?
Yeah, that was right after it. Rainbox was a combination. It was two members from Pale Divine, Michael Scherer and Dan Anjanen, and then myself and Jerry Saraceni, who was the drummer for several years from the Stranded Lads.
Yes, Jerry.
I had done a brief stint as the guitarist in Pale Divine. That was maybe like the last 9 months of the band. Rich Fortis had left to go to New York, and that they wanted to keep playing, and they asked me to be the guitarist for that period, and I said yes. That was an awesome band. And the Stranded Lads, got to open up because they had a bigger draw at that time. They had built up quite a draw. They were signed to Atlantic Records. They had made it out of St. Louis, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I had just finished recording the Stranded Lads album Fungus, which was quite an undertaking. That was 1992, and playing in both bands. And anyway, things kind of, all that was a lot of work at that time, recording, finishing my degree, and just getting to, I don't know, it kind of seems like that was a change in times. So both these bands, Stranded Lads and Pale Divine, kind of broke up around the same time. And then we decided to form a new group, Michael and I, called Rainbox.
Okay. That
started, precise dates I can't tell you, 94. Yeah. So we played, that was Jerry and I, Dan and Michael, okay? And we recorded a cassette. That cassette, we only released it. It had 10 songs. And that band lasted for maybe a little less than 2 years. And then, we did okay. We toured around. It wasn't a massive success, I would, I remember we had pretty good draws, but...
And this is still all original music?
Original music, yes. we played like all the same clubs, Otherworld, Mississippi Nights,
But those are big clubs.
Lynx Club. I remember doing that. Played out of town, maybe. Oh God, where do we play? I don't know. We played all around. Not far afield, but like.
Oh.
Was it Columbia?
Right.
Maybe Kansas City. I can't remember all the places.
Yeah.
Springfield, kind of part of the circuit, you know.
Right.
So anyway, that ended, and that was 30 years ago. That was 96. So we recorded the cassette in 1995. This year, I've been compiling the songs, and we're going to release all that stuff on vinyl. So Rainbox is going to come out on vinyl if everything goes according to plan.
And how are you going to get that info out to everyone? Do you have a website or?
There's no website. I don't know. These are things that.
Well, social media kind of helps these days too, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how else to do it.
Yeah, right.
I haven't figured that out. I'm kind of.
It might be the best and only way.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess I'll think about the music first and worry about that later.
Yeah,
so anyway, that's
cool. Yeah. Now, then you got into flamenco guitar.
Yes.
And which is quite a bit of a right, left turn, whatever, from what you were doing. How did that happen? How does...
Yeah, I met another important person, a guy named Fritz Lerma. He was studying at WashU here, played flamenco, coincidentally with a friend that I knew from Wabash Triangle Cafe, where I played with the Stranded Lads, Beth Haney. So he asked me to try and play, quote unquote, try and play flamenco with him, that he would show me the ropes, and because I didn't know anything about it. You know, I had seen Paco de Lucia play and was quite enamored by, you know, I had been listening to Paco play with, like, for example, John McLaughlin, El Diamiola, Friday Night in San Francisco album. So I was aware of him, not doing traditional flamenco, but that album kind of introduced me to him. And then I went and saw him in concert in 97 at Powell Hall. And I was like, wow, that was amazing. I can never do that stuff. And then fast forward maybe like 3 years, 2000, got into the flamenco from Fritz, and then joined with Fritz and Beth, and they had a group called Los Flamencos, and it was mainly just them two, and Fritz played guitar and sang. So I kind of joined in, and he got me going, and I was like, well, I'll keep going if I can make progress, because it was, for me, it was kind of starting from scratch on the technical level. Also, like, understanding the music. And
maybe you should explain a little bit what flamenco is.
Flamenco, it's a Spanish art form focused. The origin is mainly in Andalusia, and it's an art form. You could call it folk music. It's a fusion in and of itself, drawing influences from the East, India, Middle East, North Africa, and probably folk music, other folk musics, and classical a little bit. You know, developed mainly by gypsies. You know, there's non-gypsies, of course, that have been important parts, including Paco de Lucia, but it's primarily a gypsy form of music.
Okay, yeah.
Roma,
Okay.
Roma music.
Okay.
Roma people of southern Spain, Gitanos. So that became a passion and a primary focus for me. I found it incredibly challenging, and I just decided that I was going to only do that. I had gigs early on working with Los Flamencos with Fritz. He ended up leaving town, and I was kind of left holding the bag as the guitarist that had to accompany Beth, which was incredibly challenging for me. I owe her a lot for teaching me how to accompany her, because that's kind of the origin. Getting back to your question before, what is flamenco? You know, the primary components of flamenco are cante, the singing, the dancing, baile, and guitar as an accompanist of these two other things. And then having a little trio, that's the main components in flamenco. So I'm trying to wrap my head around all this stuff, listening to, you know, cantes, listening to alegrias, listening to soleá, tangos, all these different song forms, that comprise the repertoire of flamenco. And I'm just trying to do the minimum in order to get through the gig accompanying her. We played every Monday at Modesto on the Hill for many years, which was incredible that I got to do that. So it wouldn't happen for me if, in any other situation probably, because there really wasn't much else happening in terms of flamenco in St. Louis. And we had a steady gig, and I just had to somehow bring myself up to a level good enough to accompany her, which, I did do. And then just progress from there on. Then I met a woman who was studying dance with Beth, and she became my wife, and we really kind of had a nice scene playing flamenco together. And I went to Spain. I took workshops and just kind of did pilgrimages.
Oh, okay.
Just trying to get better as a guitarist, as a flamenco musician. And it's a lifelong study, to be honest.
Yeah.
It still is for me. Then fast forward to the teens. Now I'm kind of...
Well, you did a solo flamenco record.
I did. I was quite ambitious. I was trying to get my repertoire together and play good enough that I can also do solo pieces. That was in 2005. That was an album called Guitarra Flamenca. And that was a combination of some traditional material, an original tune that was kind of what I would call rumba flamenca, tune called Rumba de Azul. What else is on there? I had Beth do a dance segment, on one of the tunes, a tangos, called Los Flamencos, and she does a little dance section in it, which is percussion, is what it is.
Yeah, right.
You can hear, you can listen to dance also when it's tap dancing or.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
it's a percussion solo, is what it is, with amazing visuals.
Yeah. Yeah. So, is that recording available?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have that stuff on SoundCloud. I have Guitarra Flamenca on SoundCloud, and I have a duo album called, it was a guitar duo with John Oliver Knight. It's called, the group's called The Reventones. We started that in, I want to say, like 2009. Another guitarist from St. Louis, his background is more classical, but he, like me, how I got into flamenco, he got into Cuban music because he studied at USC, and he studied with Maestro Lázaro Galarraga, who's, they're still performing in Los Angeles. John lives in Los Angeles. He was here for a few years and then kind of moved back out there as well.
Okay.
So him and I met through a friend, and we struck up a nice camaraderie in terms of two guys from St. Louis that have these interests that are flamenco, Cuban, which are very different, but they have Latin and Spanish influence. And between our tastes and repertoire, we were able to really put some nice stuff together. And he is I love his voice. He's a really fabulous singer. And so he would sing on the record. His tunes are all in Spanish. We're doing, like, for example, we did Anda Jaleo, which is lyrics by Federico Garcia Lorca, and it's part of the flamenco repertoire. We did a version of that. We also did kind of a flamenco staple rumba called Arrincónamela. So those are the two offerings on that CD. And then we did a couple Cuban pieces. We did maybe 4 or 5 originals of mine. One we collaborated on. Then we did other stuff from like South and Central America. We did a piece called La Mora Limpia, which is very popular in Nicaragua. A piece called the Vals Venezolano, which is actually a classical piece that we kind of turned into a duo piece. So that record is, I'm really proud of that record. Yeah. And we toured on that, did a couple tours, and I'm going to reissue that. Like this year, I'm just going to say I feel this urgency to re-release and release music I haven't released before. So I'm going to be
fantastic.
Doing a big data drop.
Now, is this on vinyl too? Is that what?
I think so. I have to figure that out because the thing with vinyl, you're limited to about 20 minutes per side unless you do a double album. It's more cost.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of dealing with this with the Rainbox. Like, do we do a double album?
Nice.
It might be a double album because we have 13 songs. And then we have, there might be some good live stuff that we have. So I was thinking about for Rainbox doing a double album and adding some remixes of a couple tunes and maybe a live cut.
Is your current or one of your current groups Barbary Saints? Is it?
So Barbary Saints, that was 10 years. Also going to re-release this. That was a digital release. Barbary Saints was Matthias James and Candace Wilbert. This is 2015. They have a group called Matthias and the Pirates. Very popular hip-hop group in St. Louis. Love them. Great songs. Both really creative powerhouses, I'll just say. And so I had the idea in 2015. It's like, I really would like to do a collaboration with both of them. I love Candace's voice. She's got one of the greatest voices I've ever heard from St. Louis. And, well, period. Like, when I hear her sing, it moves me. And so they agreed, and I had the idea of doing a remake of Seals and Crofts' Summer Breeze. And they liked the idea. I had did a kind of a mock-up demo of the general idea, and they came over and I played it for them. They're like, yeah, we like this. So I just set about I was the producer on it, and recorded most of the tracks myself at the house. Then we went into Suburban Pro in South City. Matt Sawicki helped me pull this all together. Okay. He's a great producer engineer in his own right, and he helped me pull that together. We did drums and did a couple of things there and mixed it there.
Oh, great.
It's too much for me to mix, and he's much better at mixing. So that came out in 2015. It's a single song released under this name, Barbary Saints.
Okay.
We had plans. Matthias James lives in LA now. It's hard to do things long distance. Potentially there'll be another song. We've talked about it over the years, just hasn't come to fruition. At the very least, I'm going to re-release it. It's 10-year since we did that 10-year anniversary, you could say. So that'll probably come out digitally. I might remaster it, might do an alternative mix. Who knows? We'll see if I get to it because there's a lot of work for me to deal with.
Yeah, well, you got a lot going on now, a lot of projects, seems like. So now we were talking earlier about Tbilisi, Georgia. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Tbilisi? And
Tbilisi, Georgia.
Tbilisi, okay.
Tbilisi.
And that's not state of Georgia. This is...
Maybe I'm adding too much of the I in there. Tbilisi. Let's just say that. Tbilisi, Georgia.
Yeah.
Because the letters T and B are right next to each other. There's no I between them.
Right. It's a strange, when you look at it,
it's a very unique language.
Yeah.
I lived there in 2018.
Oh, okay. And there's a video out of you.
Yeah, there's a video on my YouTube page. It's a collaboration with an incredible singer from Tbilisi, Georgia. Her name's Nino Basharuli. She has a solo record, and she, I think, just released that this year digitally. I think it was only available on CD. I don't remember which year it was released. Maybe like 2000 in the teens, maybe 2016, 15. I can't remember. So I was fortunate to have met her, and she asked me to perform with her in Georgia. And our common thread, because I don't know Georgian folk music, which she does. She's a world music singer. And I would say she is the quintessential world music singer. I've never met a person with this much breadth and knowledge of music and voice of, I can't even describe how incredibly powerful this woman's voice is in her presence. So she sings in many languages. I'll just say 10 languages. So we performed together. We did some Brazilian music. She can sing in French. I think we did a couple French songs. But our common thread was our interest in flamenco. So we did a tune called Ojos Verdes, which is an old Spanish copla. And we decided we're going to do this. So I came up with an arrangement for a guitar to cover it. And we performed it live on television.
Yes.
In the town square, the old city, Tbilisi. And that's on my YouTube page.
Yes. How do you get to your YouTube page?
Lliam Christy Music. And I have quite a few other things on there.
Okay,
A
good.
lot of duo stuff with different singers
Yeah.
I've worked with.
How can we get to your gigs? How do we find your schedule?
I don't post my schedule. I can tell you, currently I've had, let me say, starting in 2017, I was very fortunate to have a regular gig every Friday and Saturday
Okay.
at a place called Andrea's Steakhouse. It's in O'Fallon, Illinois. And that has been a really important part of my life since then, because they're a wonderful family. And it's ANDRIA''S.
Okay.
Started by Sam Andrea. They've been there since
Long time,
1978.
right? Okay.
So it's a family-run steakhouse. I started, the owner, Larry Kennison, he invited me to come and play. He saw me playing. And he's like, you'd be great at the restaurant, because I'm doing solo guitar, and I'm doing a variety of stuff, doing flamenco. He's like, because they're music people. They love music, the whole family. So that started a tenure there, which I continue to this day.
Okay.
So every Friday and Saturday, I'm at Andrea's Steakhouse in O'Fallon, Illinois. And I also do first and third Thursdays at the Shaved Duck in South St. Louis.
Sure.
And that's been also a regular gig for me for a long time.
Yes.
Those are my regular gigs,
Okay.
and those are all solo.
Great.
And those are
Okay.
sort of
Yeah.
ongoing whenever I'm in town.
Do you have any worse gigs that you can remember?
I don't know, not really.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. How about best gigs? Do you have any ones that?
Best gigs.
I mean, in terms of just everything's working, the crowd. You feel like you
Yeah.
communicated.
Yeah, I think in the Strand of Lads, there was magic there.
Wow.
There was magic with that band. And so I'll just say, I can't tell you any particular gigs right at the moment, but we played Cicero's quite a few times. I just remember magical moments there. Kennedy's on the Cleats Landing.
Yeah, that's
High Point, which was a great venue. We had some great gigs there. This was another era, and that era was really important for St. Louis band history, because there was a lot of talented bands, and we played similar circuits. And you look back at that era, a lot of those musicians are still playing, have gone on to do really great things. So I'm glad I was part of that scene.
Yeah. No, that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to ask you this too. If you could go back in time, do you think you would follow the same musical path?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very like what you've been, these past 30, 40 years. It's a good journey.
I feel fortunate.
Yeah.
I feel fortunate for the opportunities that I've had and the different people that allowed me to do that saw something in me that said, okay, yeah, I'll work with this guy.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so-
I think, you have a really unique touch, To me, it's, and I mean this positively, like it's like a sort of a pop essence to your style. Like when you play, people hear it, it does something to them.
Good, thank
Yeah,
you.
I
appreciate
really
that.
do, because just the way you approach it, and it's just well thought out stuff to me.
Yeah, well, I'm a composer too. We all wear different hats at different times, and in the end, we're composing music, whether we're just playing a solo or writing a song with lyrics, or writing melodies like a classical piece, for example. So it's all part of the bigger scheme, and I guess we're like jumping. I'm I'm interested in this, and it's hard to stay focused sometimes because there's so many things that are interesting as a musician. For me, as a guitarist, like to this day, it's like, oh my God, Well, amidst all this stuff that I'm working on, I'm always practicing flamenco and working on. It requires a lot of technical practice, learning scales, working on falsetas. These are working on pieces that you may have to. Next week, somebody calls and says, "Hey, I need you to come and play a flamenco thing." Well, you better have your chops together good enough to get through a gig and sound good. And you have to be ready all the time.
Yeah.
You can't let yourself fall away too much. But so I did a gig a couple days ago with Michael Scherer. We did a bunch of our Rainbox material. It was for a friend's party. And Drew was supposed to be on the gig, and he couldn't come, unfortunately. And this person, Julia, she's been having us play the last 3 years because she loves those bands, all those bands from the 90s, and she honors us by having them coming play at her party.
Great. Yeah. Wow.
So that's a gift. But so we were listening, Michael and I were listening to Richard Thompson, and so this morning before I came, I'm trying to learn 1952 Black Vincent White, which I've always loved, and I heard it, and I was like, I don't know if I can play this, but I want to at least try because that guy is a genius guitar player. So that pulled me away for a minute.
Well, good. Yeah. That's a great tune. I think there's Del McCoury recorded that a few years ago in a bluegrass style.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was a big hit for him actually. But it's a great song. I mean,
great song.
Yeah. What a great story. And so, well, listen, Liam, thank you so much for coming over. And let's see, I know you're playing at Andrea's on Mondays and Shaved Duck Wednesday, Thursdays.
So I have something coming up in the fall.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Which is quite important for me. And so I'm going to be the lead guitarist for Pavlov's Dog. I got asked to do this by David Surkamp a few months back.
Excellent. Yeah.
I'm really excited to do this.
And that's an out-of-town gig, right?
We're playing in Australia and Germany. This is an international tour, which they've been doing for quite a long time. Every year they go out on the road. So I'm honored to do this and play Steve Scorfina's guitar parts, who I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
And I've always liked the band. I listened to that band on 8-track tape when I was in grade school. So that was 50 years ago. This is their 50th anniversary, celebrating since that album Pampered Menial came out. So to me, this is...
how cool is that? Huh?
Yeah, very cool because...
Yeah. Well, they're really lucky to have you, I tell you.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel grateful for David asking me to do this.
Yeah.
And honored. Super excited because it's like, wow, are you kidding me? Yeah, I'll do that.
No, that sounds incredible.
That's kind of...
And that's September, right?
No, the tour is October. The tour starts in Australia, and then we go to Germany. There might be some other countries. There's maybe dates added that I don't know about or could be. And then we're playing Del Mar Hall, I think, on December 12th. I hope people buy the Rainbox vinyl when it comes out. That's going to happen this year. And all the other reissues that I have coming up. And
they can find out some of this info maybe on your YouTube page?
Yeah. I'll post stuff on the YouTube page. I don't really know how to... I have a website that is inactive, LiamChristy.com. Terrible with all this stuff.
Man, Now, do you have a Facebook page? Maybe?
Yeah, we can just... the Liam Christy Music on my YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
That's a good starting point.
I think a lot of people would be interested in all this stuff you're doing. So,
Well, I hope so.
It's a nice, big variety of different styles of music, man.
Yeah, no, it's...
and I'm glad you're bringing some of the old bands back to vinyl and tape or whatever's coming out. Sounds really...
It's important to me.
Incredible.
I hope it's important to other people.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, man.
Get it out there.
Right on. Well, thank you again for coming over and spending some time here, and we will see you at the next gig.
Thanks, Vince.
All along the way, change your life, he say. After all the while, you find it hard to smile, and then, like time and time before, you don't want any more.
Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast, and we'll see you backstage.
Once upon a time, love was so sublime, eating into